For life and death are one, even as the river and sea are one. So you know how the rivers feed the ocean. And I believe in this line of his poem, he's saying that life and death are one and the same. And that's kind of like the background of my work is life. You have to accept that you will die to live fully, but also living fully makes your death easier, because you're not holding on to regret or things you didn't do or things that you wish you would have said. But the labor of death, which many people are not familiar with, is very similar to the labor of life, of labor of birth labor. So um, when someone is dying and death has started, it looks very similar to the beginning of life. So you know that little babies sleep a lot, and this I don't want to say scientific explanation, but a lot of times it is explained away because it's like, oh, they're growing so much, they have to sleep. And while that may be part of it, I think it's a little more than that. I do believe that when when a baby is born, they're assimilating into new form. They have come from light and now are in physical form, and they have to assimilate to this new body and being physical, 3D, right? So they sleep a lot. At the end of someone's life, if they are, not taken suddenly, but if they are just expiring, the same thing happens. They sleep a lot. And it's not because they're growing, it is because they're assimilating to new form. And if any of you has ever sat with someone that was passing, you know that not only do they sleep a lot, but they'll start to talk about people that have already gone back to the light, right? Already people who have already gone and passed on to the spirit world or spirit realm or heaven or whatever it is that you believe in. And so it's almost like they are switching form again. So they sleep a lot. And so if you think of birth labor, it's like expansion, 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 expansion. Boom. There's new form, new life here with us. Death is the opposite, in which that it goes compression, 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 until boom, that energy is no longer here with us. And so again, this goes back to my circle of it all being connected, and how we put a lot of emphasis on the beginning and the middle, and then we just kind of push the end away. And how much better do you think you would feel if you just were comfortable with the end? Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be elated when your loved ones leave, but you may not grieve in a way that destroys you and that takes you away from the rest of your family. Um, Now, this is not to include violent deaths or accidental deaths, deaths that come quickly without the labor of death. It is just to include if someone has been blessed to live out their lives and die because it is time, it looks very much like birth. And that's all I want to do as a death doula is, again, demystify the dying process and get people back comfortable with it again. So Unplugged Soul says, when my grandmother was transitioning, she called out to her mother. Yes, this happens a lot. People will speak about or to directly to people that have already gone. And of course, we can't see them. But if you are with someone and they are actively dying, don't try to invalidate that experience for them. They will speak to their parents if their parents are already gone, or siblings that have already gone, or uncles or grandparents. And this is totally normal. And this happens across demographics, ethnicities, nationalities, um, faith groups. This happens. This is normal, and I'm surprised it's not talked about more, because I believe if we all shared these experiences, there wouldn't be this hard stop rejection of the spirit world and the spirit realm and what that may include. Have you guys, of the people listening, have any of you experienced being with someone when they were passing and experiencing the, like, just like the beginning of life, where a newborn is sleeping a lot and um, they eat a lot too, but on the in if death is the inverse of birth, at the end they sleep a lot and they don't eat much. They stop eating as their organs start to shut down. And this might be a really heavy Sunday morning conversation, but it's where I was led today. I was gonna just talk about Kahlil's poem on death, but then this kind of just dropped in. So I don't know who is on live that maybe needed to hear this version of the dying process, but here we are. Does anyone have an experience like this that you can lend to the validity of my claims right now? Because right now it's just my claims. And well, except Unplugged Soul says that his grandmother, when she was transitioning, did call out. Was she sleeping a lot also? She also recalled childhood memories. Okay. Um, was she recalling the memories, like telling them to you? Or was she recalling the memories like she was experiencing them at that moment? Because that's always interesting. My teacher, Erin Morelli, she just shared a story with us about her grandfather when he was passing and how he would call out to his mom during that time. And I've heard countless other stories of people. The other thing that people do is they will talk about going on a trip and needing to pack or waiting for a train or wanting to get tickets. That is as another part of the death of laboring death, that crosses cultures, ethnicities, and locations geographically. Um, okay. And so that wanting to go on a trip, needing to get ready for when the train comes or when the bus comes. It varies. It's not always the same method of transportation, but they'll talk about wanting to go on a trip. So Unplugged Soul says it was as if she was experiencing them. So that's really interesting. She almost like she was going through a life review while still here, and you guys got to be privy to hear it. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Did anyone interact with her while she was having recalling these memories? So yeah, I that's that was on my heart to share this morning, is that if you've never had the privilege of holding someone's hand as they journey from this life into the spirit world, then you may not know that it looks just like the beginning of life. The end of life looks just like the beginning. And circles are very important in life. Like, we talk about cycles and circles, and this is a cycle and circle that um, I feel like we take a big chunk out of, and we only get like a C of this circle. And I am running to bridge the gap from the middle of life and bring death back to birth. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. And that's all I had today. I realized we still got 15 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, we can hop back into that format of Ask a Death Doula Anything. You can ask me anything you want around death, dying, and grief. I am a death and grief doula, not just a death doula. Unplugged Soul says, no one responded. It was on her deathbed. She was surrounded by her grand and children. Oh, that's lovely. Honestly, y'all, that's the way I want to go. Like, I get that things happen, but if I am blessed to script my own death, I want to go surrounded by my children and grandchildren, possibly even great grandchildren, with them holding my hand. That just feels like a really good and peaceful way to go, to be ushered out by my loved ones back into the light and the loved ones that already went before me. I pray that my sister is the one that gets to come and get me, because I got some things to say to her before I go all the way back into the light, okay? And I don't want to be in light with this, with what I got to say to my sister. So she needs to come see me a couple of days before I go so we can have a conversation. And I'm sorry if my joking about my sister's death makes anybody uncomfortable, but you know the saying, you gotta laugh to keep from crying. That's literally what it is. I have to laugh to keep from crying, and that was our relationship. We were habitual shit talkers to one another, and you know, I am still talking shit on this side. I don't think that she is. All of my dreams about her, she has been the most loving version of herself that she could be when she was here. She ain't talked shit to me yet. And I don't even know how I feel about that. Erin, oh, guys, Erin Morelli is on the chat, the one that I was just talking about before. She says, I love that you said that about your sister. I feel the same way. Like, I love you forever and we got to talk. Exactly. Because, girl, what are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah. Hi, Godiva Goddess. Welcome. So yeah, guys, today it was, I got my tea. I hope you have your tea or your coffee. And I was just talking about how death is the inverse of birth. And when you're looking at someone who's dying of natural causes, clearly, they sleep a lot like newborns. And I posited that newborns sleep a lot, yes, because they're growing, but that's not the case at the end. So, what if it's just they're changing form? They're coming from light energy into physical energy, and that assimilation takes a lot of time. So, they sleep a lot. And at the end, the dying person will sleep a lot as they are going from physical form back to light form, but they don't eat as much. So, newborns sleep and eat, and dying people sleep and don't eat. They abstain. But let's switch back over to Ask a Death Doula Anything. What are y'all's questions? Like, what are the things that you've been afraid to ask, or you feel like, well, that's dumb, or have you experienced so much death that you don't really have any questions? and I am a death and grief doula, right? So I help people. Like I feel like legacy doula, 11th hour doula, um, and grief doula, which is, I guess, associated with postmortem doula. Um, this is where I am working and wanting to do most of my work. A little bit of education, but not like training, so to speak. Um, but yeah, what are y'all's questions? Erin says, I don't think we ever experience so much death that we don't have any questions. Right, because I still have questions. I have questions that I have to take to somebody else. Death is the ultimate mystery. Endless questions. Yes, that is absolutely true. It is, it's such a mystery. And for whatever reason, we humans have made that mystery something to be feared instead of something to be revered. Because birth is a mystery too, right? Um, but we revere birth. And so, why is death the opposite? And there's so much fear and wanting to cast it aside and not talk about it. So, Rock This Way, hi girl, says, what tips do you give someone trying to remain supportive while your partner is grieving? This is a great question. Um, it's so funny because I've always been the grieving partner. My husband has not been the one that has grieved heavily between the two of us. However, I really just don't rush your partner to get over it. We talked about this on one of these other days. I can't keep up with the days now because we're at day 8 or day 7. I'm not sure what day it is. But don't rush your partner to get better. Like, and I say better loosely. Grief is about integration, and it's about learning to live with this new reality, with this new hole in your heart. You don't heal it, right? You can't heal from somebody that you loved and then lost, but you integrate it. You start to move along in life, continuing back to your regular routine with a scar. Basically, grief is like a scar that you have. It'll never go away. It will always remind you of the love that you had or the experience that you had, right? A scar lets you know, yeah, I was rollerblading, right, and fell. um I have a lot of scars that remind me directly of my sister because she was with me when I got them. But ask what they need. A lot of times people don't ask a grieving person, how can I support you? What do you need? We just assume we know, or we try to get out of the way, or we try to be too much. But the first thing you can do is ask, how can I support you? And they may know or they may not know. And if they don't, pay attention. Unplug Soul, who's my husband, by the way, guys. He says, let them express that feeling. Ask questions about the loved one. Yes. So discuss. Um, a lot of times, talking about the person that they lost is really therapeutic. They can laugh a little bit. They can reminisce, and a lot of times, the love. It's a feeling of like, I never get to express this again, and they feel like the love has nowhere to go. But in getting them to talk about their loved one, you get them to see that that love actually does have somewhere to go. Like, there's no way my sister just disappeared, right? If many of the people on this live have met her, and how does that much awesomeness just, it doesn't. And so I still send my love to her. And I feel like she's with me. I feel like I have access to her all the time. So I hope that answered your question. Rocks this way. You guys have any other questions? You're welcome. And my condolences to your partner if your partner is grieving the loss of a loved one. I will say the first year, you know, society gives you, so your job gives you 3 days. 3 work days. It's insane. Um, and then I feel like your family gives you a little bit longer. Um, but in general, 6 months after, people expect you to be back to normal. And I can tell you it was a good year and a half. A good year and a half after my sister passed before I could really experience joy without feeling guilty. All of my son's milestones were bittersweet for me. Like, I laughed and cried when he walked, because he walked early. He walked at like 9 months old. He was ready to get moving, and my sister also walked early. She was like 10 months old when she started walking, and just all the little things, used to tear me up. It was like a year and a half before I could experience those things. Um, Unplugged Soul says, "Why is the ancestral altar important?" Um, Now that question is highly subjective. But for me, my altar is important because it is a way for me to have a physical point of contact for my loved ones that have gone. So, like, I can sit there and I can meditate, and it feels like I'm spending time with them. Um, and just to remember them and to teach my children about these ancestors that they may or may not have gotten to meet, but just to make sure that they're remembered. We, it's good if you have an altar, because it's like not hiding your pain or your grief. Do you guys have altars? And look, altar can scare some people. The word altar, an ofrenda, or just a space in your home that's designated for your loved ones. Erin says a designated space for them to exist in our life, a window. Yes, I love the way that you said that. That is a great way to 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 name that. It says you don't need it. We can connect anywhere, but the altar is an offering. Right. So so, you know, to the flip side of that, I felt most connected to my sister when I would walk through the jungle. We lived in the jungle. It's been a while now. It's been like 4 years, maybe 3, 4 years ago. And we lived there for 5 years. That's where I was living when she died. And I would go on hour-long walks every day. It was how I got out of the depression that I was in, was just being in nature. And I felt more connected to her there than any space in my home. It was just like, you know, I don't know. So many revelations came to me there. It was like, we are a part of nature. And if I find God in nature, and my sister has gone back to God or to the light or to the universe, whatever it is you want to call it, then she has to also be there. And it was most palpable there. And then I think that's why I was able to actually progress and move forward and get back to my life and get back to being a wife and a mom and a friend and a daughter and a granddaughter, because I withdrew myself from everyone while I was trying to rationalize or just accept being in this world without her. And that was very different for me. Like, I could feel that she was no longer here, and it was very, very, it was a weird experience. And so grief doesn't always have to be like this sadness, right? It can be absence. It's weird that I'm getting emotional. But it can just be absence. There's millions, billions of people on the earth, but when some people leave, you feel it. And believe me or not, I literally felt like her not being a part of this world anymore. And I felt open and unprotected. And so And speaking to it that way, make sure your friend or your partner um, or your loved one that is grieving feels protected and feels seen. Because that was the biggest thing for me. For those of you that I saw Demetrius, I don't know if he's still on the call. Um, Demetrius went to high school with me and my sister, and he can tell you she was my protector, even though she was my little sister. Um, I was the nerdy athlete. I had friends, I was popular, but you know, every now and again somebody wanted to pick on me, and Erin was not having it. And she was like that our entire lives. From the moment she came to the moment she left, she protected me fiercely, be it physically, emotionally, mentally, it didn't matter. And so when she left, I felt very exposed and vulnerable. And until I realized she was an ancestor, and now having somebody that was willing to fight for me here on the other side fighting for me, I'd rather have her here, but I'm grateful for the things that she's doing on the other side. So, anyways, we're at 9 o'clock and I'm a crying mess. So, I'm going to end this live. Thank you guys so much for coming. Tomorrow is Monday. We're going to go back to the afternoons. So, 4:30 p.m. I might still read that poem to y'all tomorrow because it's a really good poem. Or if you want, you guys go look it up. It's Kahlil Gibran. It is on death and it's in the book The Prophet. I don't remember which one it is. For whatever, the number 27 is coming up, but I don't know why. So, thank you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your Sunday, and I will see you tomorrow, 4:30. 4:30 in Mountain, but it's like 6:30 Eastern. All right. Ciao, guys.